Phil Valentine and I, is, time permits and stuff like that. So, the way I'm supposed to have been on that side, so I'm just saying, right now we're going to play by ear, we're going to give Brother Phil an hour, right now, if everything goes right and stuff, what I'm saying, if there's a little more time and all, I'll see what I can spare, but, the reason why I say that I had no sleep tonight, and I want to be rejuvenated, so I got to go take some narcotics. No, the blue pill will put a nigga through the... I need to find the red one to really wake up. But I'm going to take the, go dose down some caffeine and stuff, you know what I mean? To get pumped up, and then I ain't gonna have no problem, Just a thing I've been doing for years on the road. You know what I'm saying? Because and the reason why I say that is because it's interesting. Because I get on the road, people get cheap on me and give me a red eye flag sometimes. You see what I'm saying? Or something like that. And all. So I used to get a lot of them and all. Sometimes it's unavoidable and stuff, I have to be in at a certain time based on the length of where I'm going, so I got to take a red eye flight, so I have to pump myself up if I'm lecturing the same day. So we're going to bring Brother Phil Valentine back, which was very interesting because, in his presentation, he got a real technical, when you started drawing those graphs and stuff like that. And a lot of times that is needed because you got the bourgeoisie. They tend to sometimes try to devalue stuff that black people is doing. So sometimes you have to put that technical thing on them and stuff like that and all, and go over their head sometimes, and then bring them back down and lock them in and stuff based on a presentation and stuff, so that you literally don't give them no room to breathe. Don't give them no room to breathe. So sometimes this stuff go off almost like a doggone physics doggone lecture on their ass. And so doing the both common denominator and stuff like that, it's good sometimes to get different types of energies and stuff like that. For the simple fact, you don't want the whole thing to look like it's the Hemmitt summit everybody in the same Bobby Hemmitt mode, the same Bobby Hemmitt mode as far as, not outside of my little scope of how I do things and stuff. So you got to get different types of things when you talk about a conference and stuff. That's what it's supposed to be. It don't supposed to be the same tempo or the same type of way the way that I deliver and stuff. There's got to be different variations of that. And also too, it don't have to necessarily also coincide as far as we being at one when it comes to contradictory, because the simple fact we talk about chaos. You see what I'm saying? We talking about friction. You see, and friction, you see what I'm saying, is what gets shit going. You see what I'm saying? What gets stuff going and all. So we gotta have a whole composite of all different types of energies fusing in at once and stuff, because that's what really wakes us up, and that's the order that we in at this particular time right now. That is what transmutates. You see what I'm saying? That is what transmutates and stuff. So we're not talking about Christian convention or something where we all got to be in the same, coincide on the same level, you see what I'm saying, except the Lord and Jesus as our personal Savior. You know the whole manual and stuff, so so some of you all might want to accept Satan. Some of you all might want to accept Pillsbury Doughboy. You see what I'm saying? But this is what this thing is about. We want to get that type of energy, because that's what we talk about metaphysics, or what we call the occult. You see, you never know what's going to hit you. You see, so we're bringing Brother Phil up. He's going to do his thing. I'm going to go and get hopped up on some speed, some coffee and some whatever to get me right, and stuff, so I can come up here and show my ass, do my thing and stuff like that and all. So coming to the stage, Brother Phil Valentine, coming straight out of New York, in front of there.
Please help.
Okay.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay.
And thank you, brothers and sisters, for returning after what ended up being a very interesting night till 3 in the morning. And a lot of people were telling me different things. It was all coming at me at one time. I wanted to also clarify something a sister said earlier that day in the question and answer about somebody named Greg somebody, about where I got some stuff from Greg somebody. I didn't read anything from any Greg anybody. Greg who? Braden. No.
Last time you were at the Melanin Conference,
Yeah.
opening 0 point, waking the world.
Yes, that's what somebody had told me about that, yeah.
Braden also breaks down the DNA.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, and then he gave you some information where you can even go further to cytokine bulletin in Philadelphia.
Okay, right. Well, I got this from Matrix. And I don't know if they had gotten Greg Braden at that point, but I had gotten the stuff I had on the DNA about 7 years ago. So I didn't know anything about Greg then. But I remember that when you mentioned that, that was something that Sirius Books had told me about. So I was telling them what he had told me that I should tell them would be a good book to get. Not familiar with him either. See, a lot of times, most of these white New Agers are now writing from orthodox scientific purview, and they're mixing their science with that.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you're interested, just get one of his books, and it's called The Harmonic Conquest of Space.
Okay. All right.
A lot of math with it.
Some people were asking me about where I get my books from, and over at my desk I have something called the Lucius Trust Library Catalog. The Lucius Trust used to be the Lucifer Trust, and this was Madame Blavatsky's, this is what was made after the Theosophical Society. And the Lucius Trust has a library of all places on Wall Street. So I go shopping down there where the true Illuminists and all the rest of these devils go to try to get their materials. Of course, it's been homogenized the way you do milk, so it's for public consumption. But one of the better places that I used to shop, I don't know if they closed it down, was on 5th Avenue and East 19th Street. And that was seriously a Satanist place, but they had some of the baddest books that you would want to have in there that was about our African ancestry. Ain't nothing but white folks in there, but nothing but Kemetic material all around. And all of them with big lips and beautiful black features, and them worshiping inside of there. So if any of you all want to look over this particular catalog, I don't usually go into my books the way I go in for books. Sister knows that when I do my investigation in books, I read some things that people say, and then I put the book down, and all of a sudden things start flowing through. Because all they're doing is just giving me back what's mine, and all I got to do is trigger into my melanin memory. So all I do is write, and most of the time I'm writing, I forget that I have to go back and see whether or not it correlates, because a lot of people want to double check and see whether or not I'm saying the right things. There are times when I venture outside of what it is that is comfortable for most people, and I say things years before they even make sense. And a lot of times people don't understand or overstand or understand what I mean at the moment. But when they go back to the tape 7, 8 years hence, they remember I said it then. That was the case when I was talking about AIDS. It was the case when I started the Wounded Womb 8 years ago. And this is not me just speaking for any glorification of the fact that I got this information. It's because this is what was necessary to say at the time, even though it wasn't popular, and even though you couldn't go back to a white man to verify it. Because that's that kind of mentality. There's people who would read the Bible and wouldn't want to worry about where the fuck the references are. Can anybody reference the Bible and then go ahead and validate what Paul or any of these bastards said? But you believe every damn thing they say? So we don't come from authority as the progenitors and the originators of even speech, of the word, of writing and these things. What the hell do we need to be verifying anything for? If you know something to be true based upon your application of that thing, and it keeps coming back to you as truth, why do I need to have a white man verify it by saying, hey, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be? These motherfuckers don't get it until 10, 20 years later any damn way. So I feel that there's things that I can say today that may not be popular, but guess what? In a few years, it begins to come around to just that. And I make sure. I had this nickname. It was called the Right and Exact Reverend Valentine. I didn't get that nickname by just bullshitting with people. It's because I keep making sure that the things that I do say corroborate later on. And that's what I do. So if anybody else keeps asking me about the gender problem, I'm not dealing with the gender situation the way they want me to deal with the gender situation. If you're going to deal with a triple black goddess, there's a triple black god somewhere in there. And to separate the two and say one is greater than the other, or to amalgamate it and say that on top of that is the triple black goddess, that's a bunch of bullshit. Sound like a white man telling me shit, and I don't want to hear it. There's a triple black god for a triple black goddess, and there's a triple black mother for a triple black father. And this bullshit about eviscerating or eliminating the masculine principle out of Godhead, the way the white man eliminated the feminine principle out of Godhead, is just that reflex bullshit that we're going to get caught up in. It is the mother-father principle, or the father-mother principle, however you want to say it. And those two are dynamic into what it is we see here today. So I don't extol one over the other. I don't claim one to be superior to the other. So don't take me at that. My conversations are about balance. My very sign Libra is about balance. So I seek that. And when I see people taking on the dialogue of the white man and trying to infuse it into the conversations of melanated people, I won't tolerate it, because I know inside of my heart it ain't gonna fit. And this is 23 years of me doing this. I was doing it at a time when it wasn't popular for black people to deal with metaphysics. We here for illumination and transmutation. Well, I'm going to speak about the fact that in that time, when we begin to feel transmutation, there will be some symptoms that we will go through. Serious symptoms. And they're happening right now. Brothers and sisters are coming up to me telling me that they're having the symptoms. They don't know what there is. They don't know what those symptoms are, but I'm going to tell you what those symptoms are. And it is about you changing your cellular network. Everything in your cellular structure is about to change. It's been changing, but it's not going to change the way most Europeans are going to change. They're going to start blowing up and catching fire and shit. Not us. Not unless you want to act like white folks. Then I don't want to stand too close to you. But the symptoms of transmutations are as follows. Loss or significant lessening of addictive appetites. A lot of people now are coming to me saying that once they have changed over to a specific way of being, thinking, and living, no longer are they chained to specific habits that they've been dealing with. In the tape that I did in California called Somatic Death, which is something that is not popular now because most people know what the fuck soma means. Somatic death is based upon the fact that your body has a archetypal germ cell that is the original prototypical cell for what your whole body is to become. This is the secret of the one becoming the two. Now, after the body is formed in the womb, social energies, activities, habits, particular proclivities of social behavior, those begin to shape the different ways that your cells reproduce themselves. So you have two bodies. You have a prototypical body, which is the germ cell body, and you have a somatic body, which is created from your appetites. The body that dies and gets sick and becomes ill, that's the somatic body. That body is based upon trauma. It's based upon you going through a whole lot of shit. And when you go through a whole lot of shit, your cells begin to reproduce based upon that trauma. So we now are all somatic creatures. And because we have a predominantly somatic body, we have a tendency to die because somatic cells are terminal cells. There's a difference between the germ cell and the somatic cell. A somatic cell is an offshoot of the germ body, but it is not real. It is the illusory body. It is the lust body. It is the death body. That's the body that rots. So, during the times of transmutation, you will begin to feel, as you begin to behave in accordance with and in obedience to those things that cause you to give up those destructive appetites that you're on right now. And you know what they are. You ain't got to be told by any naturopath anymore, constantly going for verification as to whether you're right or wrong. You know what's wrong now. It's time to be put out. I'm in business to go out of business. Because if I'm in business and I'm driving a goddamn Mercedes-Benz and you still sick, what the fuck am I doing? And this is exactly what the doctors are doing. In the ancient of days, the doctors were constantly paid while you were well. Soon as your ass got sick, he stopped getting paid. And guess what? He got the incentive to get paid again. But we do shit backwards over here. We pay the motherfucker while we sick, hoping we get well. Meanwhile, he's sitting back well on your money. You sick, and he driving a Benz. Where's his incentive? If I had the deaths, do you know that doctors kill more people than car accidents, guns, wars that they have going around the planet right now? Number 2, symptoms of transmutation. Memories of childhood come in dreams and visions with clairvoyance and clairaudience. A lot of people keep telling me about the fact that they're getting dreams now. I'm not saying that, you should now deny any of your dreams, but your dreams are no longer going to be dreams. They are going to be flash forward pictures. Not flashback, but flash forward pictures to where you're going. And remember, I told you that we live in 12 simultaneous vibratory planes. And that when I showed you the principle of this, and it looks like I have about 2 or 3 hands, but it's actually one hand vibrating. The vibration of dreams is our connection between those 2 or those 12, and we pick up signature information from them broadcasting their experiences to us, and vice versa. So living in simultaneous realities, we, through the genetics and through the DNA, have contact to those other 11 parts of ourselves. So when we're dreaming and we're getting back into our childhood and so forth, we are going through what we spoke about yesterday as particulate vibratory and orbital references. And this is what Bobby was saying. We got to get technical, because a lot of times, a lot of the Negroes who need technicalities got to hear it this way. But particles, everything based on particles, which itself are also based on atomic structures, wherever the particles are spinning and how they're spinning and at the rates they're spinning and at what directions they're spinning is what gives us our reference of time. So as we are dealing with time, time is not what is moving. It is consciousness focus that is passing through these vibratory particles that is giving us the perception of time. So time is essentially based on a perception of movement based upon how you move your perception through the field of particle life forms. You will also feel ringing in your ears. There will be hearing problems. The ringing in the ears is your kidney energy. The kidneys are connected to your ancestral energy. So you will be seeing and feeling your ancestral energy channeling and chiming through you in the form of tones and overtones. And those tones will come up in your ears. And that's where you get the ringing in your ears. But that's your ancestors communicating with you. You will have skin sensitivity. Start breaking out at any damn thing. That's because your skin now, all of the electrical field energies and all of what it is that you're seeing, the particulate energy is now vibrating at a higher level. And because of that, your skin is going to become more sensitive, because the skin is your lungs. The skin and the lungs are connected. So the air now is changing. The vibratory rate of the particles you breathe in is changing. So of course, yes, your skin will be affected as well. Nervous energy, excessive, crying for no reason. Hot flashes. Non-menopausal women will have them, as well as men. This will have nothing to do with anything female or male. Breathing problems. Fluttering of the heart. Heart beating at higher levels and higher rates. A lot of people are worried about the fact that their heart rate is going up. Well, the vibratory rate of the planet is going up. And your heartbeat is setting up, it's getting into synchronicity with that particular vibratory rate level going up. So if you're going to a doctor at this time and he's measuring your heart rate in relationship to the old protocol of what a good heart rate is, he'll tell you have high blood pressure. When you don't have high blood pressure, of course, if you're swapping down pork and eating all that shit, yeah, you got high blood pressure. Don't mistake that. If you're doing wrong, yeah, that's the problem. But if you're doing right and you're high and your pressure is up, and there are certain things that are coming out in your skin and you're being righteous and you're doing the right thing, then that means that's the purging time. That's the purging time. Fatigue, nausea, flu-like symptoms, changes in vision, hearing, smell, and taste. Food ain't gonna taste the same. The vibratory rate of the planet is changing, and therefore with a vibratory rate change, taste itself will have a whole other meaning. Remember, your four senses are alive. Fire, air, water, and earth are alive. They're active. These things are active principles. They become alive in the senses that you have: sight, sound, smell, and taste. There are no five senses. There are only four senses. Touch is not a sense. Touch is a sensation. Big difference. Senses are alive, they're conscious. Your sight, sound, smell, and taste have to be conscious in order to process information. So as you begin to see something, that is not just you being able to pick up pictures or pick up living imprints of life. You are processing light or information through the principle of fire. And without fire, there is no light. And fire is conscious. Hearing is conscious. Smell is conscious. Taste is conscious. And these four become conscious as the estuary that they represent. The fire element represents the reproductive. So the reproductive organs are connected to the eyes. So is the liver. Smell is connected to the earth. So the bowels are connected to your smell. Taste is circulatory. Okay, and the bowels being digestive, taste is circulatory. And then, of course, hearing is respiratory. So everything is interconnected, and they are alive. So you would not be able to see or to process information unless these senses were conscious themselves. Your hair and your nails will begin to grow faster. You begin to see that you have feelings of migraines, gnawing headaches at the base of your neck, sometimes in the temples, around by what is called your amygdala. A-M-Y-G-D-A-L-A. And I never got into the amygdala yesterday, but we'll speak a little bit on the amygdala. Dizziness, feeling your total body vibrate. I want people to get next to this part. You be laying in your bed, and have you ever felt this sensation? You laying in your bed, and you know you're quiet, you're staring up, and the bed feels like it's moving? Yeah. The vibratory rate in your body is creating a displacement in your stillness. And that displacement is going to make you feel like your body can't contain the energy anymore. And it's like a conscious thing, because you could watch the bed moving. You say, I ain't doing this. Yes, you are. Intense muscle spasms, temporary loss of muscle power or loss of circulation. Sometimes you fall asleep, and even if you're not laying on your arm, you feel like one part of your body can't get weight up. There's something wrong with that. And you begin to start feeling like you got to lift that part of your body, and you're saying, I'll get the blood back in there. Wanting to sleep longer. That's been me. I've been like that for the last 30 years. You know, wanting to sleep longer. This is the big one, bouts of depression. Bouts of depression. Tension, high stress, like you feel something is going on, but you don't know what it is. This feeling of anxiety is that part of yourself that vibrates on other realms, or is psychically connected to the coming time. You know the disturbance that's getting ready to happen, and you don't know what it is that's inside of you picking up that information. So you're going through all kind of changes, and you don't know what that is. And you can't pick it up because you don't know. There's nobody there whipping up on you or throwing shit at you or saying things to you, but yet still you're reacting in that manner, like something is happening to you. Finally, nightmares related to past karmic experiences. Now, nightmares on past karmic experiences, whew, brothers and sisters, if you were doing some real heinous shit, I don't want to be in your dreams, boy. You know, so do your own assessment, and maybe there's some things that you could add to that. You know, there's certain symptoms that you're feeling that you may want to deal with, and chalk that up. But don't just dismiss health problems, around the fact that this may be transitional symptoms. You know, make sure that what you're doing is correct. Take your enemas. I tell people take enemas. They don't want to. Wow, take an enema. God damn. Oh no, I ain't gonna do that. But you can't shit. So if you can't shit, you got to do something to help yourself. Now, instead of taking that physic and all that crap into your bloodstream and destroying your blood, a little water up your ass ain't gonna hurt.
That's right.
You know, a good shit, you'd be surprised after a good shit how good you feel. You be up there dancing and shit, feeling all light. So I recommend a good shit to everybody. And that's where I get most of my best ideas. As soon as I take a good shit starts coming right back in. All that blockage is gone. So if you got depression, if you got all this here problems, if you want to get rid of the thought of an old boyfriend or old girlfriend or some shit, take a good shit.
I have a quick question.
Great question.
Back to symptom number 1.
Mm-hmm.
You named 2 bodies. One was the solar body. What was the other one?
The germ cell body. The germ body, they call it. The germ cell means the original cell.
Okay, the original parent.
Yeah, the original parent cell. That's the one. Let me get to this. 3 essential planes of existence so that we could get into the depending of waveforms and standing waveforms and our reality zone. There are 3 different types of realities that we live in now. There are 3 essential planes of our existence: hyperdimensional, ethereal, and physical. These hyperdimensional planes that we live on, for instance, is tangible in texture as physical as ours, but far more complex. There's a brother here that was showing us some real serious 4th dimensional pictographs and pictograms. And you get in contact with that brother, you'll see that what it is that a brother who becomes or a sister who becomes a channel begins to vibrate to that level. We're dealing with a singularity that becomes a multiplicity. And from the singularity, we deal with the singularity, and I call it the primal black. What we call God is a singularity, a point of consciousness within a field of potential. In a step-down progression of energy, this multidimensional God slows its velocity of being down to what we call or identify as 3rd density. And it is at this level, that this singularity, this point of consciousness materializes as a proton. Now listen very carefully. This material singularity called a proton, which when it designs an orbit for itself, it creates what is known as subatomic particles. Now listen to this very carefully, because here's where we're going to start getting into how to cleanse the DNA. Although this point has no dimensions, it is the microparticle of infinite mind. It is a composite of the mind of God in miniature. It is the source of all life, all consciousness, from microbe to metaterrestrial being in all phases of the universe. Now listen carefully. That which is the primal black, the triple consciousness, the ineffable, is not perfect. It is potential, infinite potential. The problem with us is that we believe that there is something perfect outside of ourselves. The perfection is the imperfection because it is in the perfecting that we gain perfection. If you are perfect and all things are already perfect, then there is no need for perfection. I asked yesterday a sister, why is it that God, as a perfect thing, would create an imperfect thing? Something that is perfect cannot create imperfection. So obviously the imperfection that we view as imperfection must be perfect. In all of what it is that we are, we must stop believing that what the church and all three of these bullshit religions have given us as an original sin. The original sinner was God. The original sinner was God. The original sin was creation. So, any of the people who are dogmatically trained in these three mind-slaving religions believes that there is something perfect other than themselves that they must achieve. How is it that Satan is created, if not by God? Who is Shaitan? Who is the devil? We have to get out of this duplicity that they've put us in. The church has created these particular dogmatic references, separating that which is God into these good and bad and evil and all that. It's all one thing, playing with itself. It's just one big masturbation going on with God. He tells you, be fruitful, multiply. Here, I'll give you free will, but no, that's a sin. I'm going to punish you if you do that. Why make it? Why create it? If we get this personality bullshit out of God, we begin to understand that we are God folded over on itself. Dios in veros, demon et veros in veros. Demon et Dios in veros. It means that God is the devil in reverse. And when you understand that all creation is Satan, Shaitanic, Luciferian, and that Jesus is the fuck up. Don't let the Christians hear me say that shit. The Christ energy is that which we pull together of the evil and the good and bring into balance. We as man are civilizing God because the original God is chaos. Man is order. And ain't no God gonna bring order. Man must bring order to God. And when you understand that, then we can get on with the business of ascension. Because everybody's over there waiting for God to come in and bring order to man. Everybody gets upset when I say, how the hell is man gonna bring order to God? Well, if they can tell me what God is, outside all the bullshit they've been told by everybody else, then we'll have a dialogue on a reasonable level to start from point zero. But I'm growing up inside of a Christian church and I don't know shit about anything else but that, and I've been given something to believe without me investigating it and having come into that realization myself. Don't come to me telling me shit that you haven't investigated. All I can see is the only evil and the only good being perpetrated is through man and by man. And when I watch God in action, I see this motherfucker blow up a whole side of a mountain and level and drop it right on the heads of good Christians. So I know what God is. But when I want to know who God is, I look to us. So don't come pulling that bullshit with me. I'm talking to them Christians out there that you got the idea about who God is. Either Islam, Buddhist, I don't give a shit. Until you can tell me who this God is and stop giving me all this other bullshit rhetoric and dogma that your priesthood gives you, then you ain't got nothing to say to me. Because as now I see that the only order, the only mercy, the only real goodness that would come from anything and anyone is man and woman. God ain't give me shit except the ability to realize myself as God. And when that comes through, then we will have made advancement. Now, when we begin to understand what this thing called karma is, we begin to understand that the DNA has signatures. that we inherit from life after life. In your soul, the soul is a neutral template. It does not have agenda. The soul is a neutral vibratory body that came about as the result of the aggregate of atomic energies coming together into this intelligence we call man. The overtones that you see, which become the aggregate, when you watch atoms coming together to knit together, one atom being polarized by another atom, which then after all these atoms come together create a particle. Other particles now begin to pull other particles into conjunction with itself, and then you have the semblance of form through a morphogenetic field. That particular form begins to take on a consciousness. That consciousness now grows. The more you begin to add on other particulate energies, but the intelligence is that atom, that basic atom. When they all come together into the aggregate that you see, the intelligence that you see as man, the harmonic overtone becomes the soul. Now, onto that clean slate, physical reality and physical actions, physical experiences and physical perceptions become indelibly etched. Because every time you act upon something, your mind and your memory begins to change that experience into a chemical reaction. The chemistry of your experience becomes your memory. All memory is a chemical return of energies. So if your body and your mind are connected through the chemistry that is activated by your experience, then we must now follow how experience becomes chemistry. And once experience becomes chemistry, we follow what the chemistry does with that encoded experience within it. Check? Are you following me? Okay. That now encoded information becomes indelibly etched as a signature of experience onto your DNA. The DNA and genetic pattern begins to keep that experience locked into its helixes. Now, when you begin to overstand and understand that you have the ability to travel into levels of yourself that this society does not allow you to travel in, it don't let you think. It don't let you give you a chance to stop for a moment and begin to contemplate the reality of yourself. You don't even know what to do with silence. You get scared when it gets silent. You need something to keep you aggravated, to keep you agitated, because you've become drugged by the stimulus. Stillness is somehow aberrant to you. Just like any other junkie, you need a fix of stimulus. And that stimulus is constantly having somebody talk to you, constantly having your TV going, constantly needing to hear music, constantly needing input. You've been drugged, you've become conditioned to have input. But you are the basis for all information that exists in existence. And if you could still the outside chatter and all the psychobabble bullshit for a moment, you will be overflooded with all of the shit that's encoded into your chemistry right now. If you were to shut out and go into, and I had the experience to go into this tank that takes away all your senses, that is the most horrifying experience I thought I would ever have, because everything came rushing back to me. Without any kind of outside stimulation to keep me distracted, my brain blew up. All my chemistries began coming back, and I began to get these flashbacks from the time I was a child. And until you can purge your chemistry of all these encoded information, these pieces of encoded information, these bits and these bytes that are locked on and become crystallized into your DNA, until you have cleansed yourself of that, you will always be in the wheel of karma. Because you will harmonically keep coming back to the same kind of life form or the same kind of mother-father that vibrates to that particular experience. So when you go into your I-ditation or your meditation or your me-dictation, and you begin to see yourself slowly, the first thing to meditation is do not refuse what comes into your mind when you go into a place of stillness. Most of these yogis keep telling you, go om, yell, start chanting so you don't hear all this shit. That's bullshit. All you're doing is adding more shit to the shit you got in there. The idea is to sit still. You don't got to twist your goddamn legs up around your neck and your back. Just sit the fuck down. When you sit down and you chill, or you can lay down, Don Juan asked Carlos, find your place of power on the porch. And Don Juan was looking around at this old wooden porch and said, a place of power? What the hell is a place of power? And he looked around, he was busting his ass, and he's saying, damn, how can I find my place of power? And he was up till 2 and 3 in the morning, and finally he fell asleep. When he got back up, and Don Juan came up on him and said, I see I found your place of power. It's where he went to sleep. It's simple. Lay down, sit down, but go still for a moment. And allow all the noise to come in. Do not refuse the noise. You see, the idea is that the reason why you have held on to your karma is because you've held on to the judgment that you've made of the experience you've had. When you affix a judgment to your experience, you have claimed it. And you have become the judge that incarcerates yourself. So affixing yourself to an experience puts that experience as a signature that keeps replaying itself over and over again because you are the judge. When you begin to see these things come back into your head and you begin to look at all of the things that you've had made judgment of, the secret is to become the observer of the observation and that which is observed. And once you just become the observer and detach yourself from the observation, boom. To look at yourself and to observe yourself without affixing a judgment to what you are observing. Very difficult, because if it is specifically and personally attached to you, somebody fucked you over some way and you hate that person. They did something to you that is unforgivable. Well, you are attached to that. You're going to be connected to that because that's exactly what it is that that judgment has done. Connected you to that experience and thus to that person. Now, in your meditations, as you go deeper into yourself, the best way I see it to be done, and I did it, is to get a picture of a helix. Blank out everything around you. If you can get all your black walls and look at a white helix. Or white with black helix. The helix is what you see this. Like the caduceus for the, right, what they call the medical symbol or the DNA energy. Yeah, this, not a spiral if you want, true. But it looks like the caduceus with the serpents wrapped around each other. When you do that, when you have put that particular witness in front of you, that becomes a witness to the image that you wish to imprint yourself into. It becomes the way for you to journey into that part of yourself that matches that particular symbol. So as you begin to become still, and it will take about maybe 3 or 4 tries before you become still enough with all the dialogue you got in your head and the monologue to go along with it. See, the dialogue is you arguing with what it is you're finding in there, and the monologue is the judge. The dialogue is between the prosecutor and the defense attorney, and the monologue is the judge. And that's what's going on in your head all the time. So when you begin to see the court action going on as a person outside of that whole drama and not affix anything to that, now the more you go into that space to see the drama, the more faded it becomes because there's nothing to attach you to it. And the more you go into that space where there used to be real noisy, oh, did I turn off the stove? Or I got to be down here and I got to be, all these little pieces of noise you got in your head, as soon as you begin to do this, looking without putting any affixed judgment to it, sooner or later you go into that space and then nothing happens. Nothing comes up but blank slate. And then after you sit down before that helix and you begin to see that helix now without any conditions attached to it, without saying whether it's a serpent, whether it's a helix, it is just a shape that matches itself as a witness to that part of yourself. Now you are in that space. Once you get into that space and you begin to feel yourself dropping into it, that now you begin to see yourself going into this space that looks and feels like light. As you are going into this space where you see it's your body, you will see different parts of your body as bright and parts of your body as gray and hazy. Now, as you're going into that part of yourself, the part that's bright is either overloaded or has enough energy and is not affected by all your thought processes. The part that's dark and gray is the place where you stored all that fucked up experience. And what you want to do now is, with that observing part of yourself, is to move the light or your attention and your intent into that part that's gray and begin to fill that part with the light that you have in other parts. And as soon as you get inside of that space, you begin to feel yourself immersing inside that dark space, and then all the memories of that moment and all the moments that you stored in that area will start coming rushing back into you. And you begin to feel and sense all of the experiences within that moment. And I'm kind of jumping ahead because I know Brother Bobby is ready. But when you are deep inside of that place, that gray area that is not as bright as one area, that gray area is the place where you have stored all of your judgments, all of the experiences of others that have given you pain, all of the shit you've been going through as a human with your mother, your parents, friends, the whole 9 yards. Every piece of judgment that you have that has made you become connected in the next time, in other words, connected you or giving you a ticket back into the flesh. All of those are now you're going to begin to feel all of those experiences. And the more you immerse yourself into that gray area, and the more you keep the intent to bring that light to that gray area, the more the gray area will dissipate. And the more you go back into that particular meditation, the more you will begin to see yourself less and less with these gray areas. Now, I know it sounds like it's, well, how the hell you do that? It goes by, I know something that people don't like to do, repetition, discipline. This is something we don't want to do. We want it done now. Take a pill, it's over. But it was a process that took you into hell. And it's going to be a process to get you out. So the process of us slowly becoming more and more dense, and the process of us eviscerating and destroying our DNA to enjoy this pleasurable sensation that we have down here in this so-called physical world, it's time for us to get out. Like I said, we are super seniors.
That's right, that's right.
And I'm tired of being a super senior. I'm seeing all these souls coming past me and running past me, and I'm still in that 12th grade. It's time for us to start putting together all of what it is necessary scientifically so that we can start resurrecting the chain of events that will bring us into synchronicity with those other planetary orbs. Now, I told you last night that there are certain star code energies that are now triangulating to our particular so-called Milky Way. And it is causing a great change to happen to the whole galaxy. The Mayans had spoken about this, but all our peoples of color have spoken about this. White people are now picking up on it and making big money on what it is that we've been talking about. It is time for you now to really seriously investigate what it is that you are doing to make money. Because if you had a job, you got to think twice about that, brothers and sisters. People sitting here say, well, I got to get back to my job. You know, Sunday I came to a nice metaphysical lecture and I got to go. We got to seriously start rethinking how it is we spend our time. And this is what I just said, spend our time. Because what are we getting back for that time? When you spend something for something, you want to get something back. But you're just getting paper. What are you putting down of substance for your soul and for your energy? And I'm not talking about Jesus Christ and all this bullshit. I don't want nobody coming down on no damn cross, nobody coming down from heaven, nobody looking white coming down to tell me shit. I don't want no Christian telling me they have the ways to heaven. I don't want nobody telling me that they got the path. I have to find it myself. I'm telling you what I've experienced on the path. You got to find out for yourself. It is no easy way. It's work. Want to wrap it up. I know brother is ready. Oh, question.
Yeah, I wrote it down so never read it. Society has capital punishment, right? And life has death by natural causes. Personal decision is suicide. And what is the genesis of suicide in your?
The genesis of suicide. You said, what was the first thing you said before that again?
I said capital punishment is societal.
Yeah.
And death by natural causes is self-explanatory.
Yeah.
People that die.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other form of evil is suicide.
Yeah.
And what do you?
Well, metaphysically speaking, there is no such thing as natural death, because that's a contradiction. That's an oxymoron. If it's natural, it doesn't die. The tree will show you that. The tree look like it dies one day. Next couple of months, it comes back alive. So there's no actual natural death. That is part of the semantics and the languaging of our reality that we have to change in order for us to change the reality. The reality itself sticks and stays within the confines of a semantic lockdown as well. As far as suicide is concerned, suicide can be anything that you're doing right now to yourself, if you're killing yourself slowly or quickly. If you are eating incorrectly, you're committing suicide. If you are doing things to yourself that is causing the acceleration of your body processes so that it defends itself, then that itself is another form of suicide. But if a man or woman takes their life based upon what it is they can or cannot do, that is their choice, and I do not judge them. Suicide has been an honorable and noble thing that people have done, knowing that there is no such thing as death. When these motherfuckers and the Japanese, when they was throwing them kamikazes at you, them white motherfuckers was running like shit. They were falling out the sky. If that island was any bigger, and they had more motherfuckers up in the air, they'd have gotten rid of the American Navy. Suicide is a judgmental call. The church doesn't want suicide because they need bodies to worship them. They need bodies to keep paying. But as far as a sin about you taking your own life and the whole 9 yards, there is no sin. Like I said, the only real sinner was God. And if we are here to deal with some deep metaphysics, don't nobody start getting upset when I start talking about God being the first sinner. Because the first sin was creation. If there wasn't no creation, wouldn't none of this shit happen. And we wouldn't be judging all this bullshit. So there is no sin. There ain't no such thing as sin. Any fucking thing I do is what God is doing. And when we get out of the confines of this dogma that priests put you in to keep you obedient and to control your ass, then we will then have come out of the need to think that we have to have an intermediary to talk to God.
Come on now. That's right.
So yes, it's a very good and logical question, my elder. The sin is based upon the judgment you put on the act. The sin would be how you have to live with the vestigial residue that has accumulated upon you and inside of your DNA as a result of the judgment that you've made upon yourself about that act. But there is no such thing as a sin in anything that you do. That is just something that, again, people put together to control you. Any other questions before we move forward? Quickly now. Will this ever end? Oh, all things come to an end. Yes. Yes, beloved.
Is the breathing exercise and the meditation, is that the only aspect in terms of how we get out of this situation we're in?
Well, breathing is very important, yeah.
Meditation. Are there any other practice things that we can do?
Well, if you want to be dynamic in your practice, then you can deal with Tai Chi, Qigong, or you can deal with Falun Gong. You can deal with breathing exercises, just laying by the ocean and burying yourself inside the mud. There are ways for you to meditate with the Great Mother. Just stick yourself in the earth naked. Just be careful of worms or shit that bite your dick or something like that. You'll be all right. But the other thing is that breath is very important. The breath is the spirit. Espiritu. Espiritu is Greek for breath. So when you understand that the spirit is the breath, that is the moving masculine dynamic that animates the feminine principle, which is matter. So that's why I'm saying, how could you take the body without the breath? You cannot separate the masculine and the feminine because it's working constantly in one dynamic. Yes, sister.
Yes, you mentioned that there's no such thing as sin,
Mm-hmm.
but is there a difference between sin and doing something that's wrong or bad?
There is no wrong or bad when you're dealing with a higher metaphysics. Again, all things are within the related context of what we call God. What we have as God, and I did say that to qualify myself earlier, that we are God inverted upon itself. There are certain laws that govern the physical flesh. When you act outside of it, you reap those quote unquote rewards or consequences. When you come into the realization that there are certain laws that you have created for yourself, and that you are coming into the self-realization of those laws, then you come into a space of no karma. There is nothing to come back from your actions. Your actions are so in tune with law that there is no consequence. And that's where we're heading. But right now, we're in a field where consequence is fun. You know, consequence, when you get a nut, when you get that orgasm, that's a consequence. Because after the orgasm, your shit is tired, you feel fucked up sometimes, you're waking up like, God damn. Every act in the physical plane has a consequence. Now, over there on my table, yes, okay, go ahead.
I was just entertaining a thought, and I wanted to get your clarity or opinion of it. Like, light is the basis of creation, and I equate love to like in the natural world as a black hole, which destroys creation by pulling it as an attractive force.
Right.
So would light and love be opposites?
That's a good way of looking at it. Well, light and love would have to be degrees of the other. Okay, love could not be the love that you're speaking about, because it seems to be that if love pulls all things toward itself, then that would be the one thing pulling things back to itself in a selfish mode. And the one thing is not about being selfish, it's about finding out as much of itself that it needs to find out. So the Most High, as what we call the one thing, would constantly be out there giving, constantly giving, because the more it gives, the more it finds out about itself.
Or the process of destroying duality, or destroying...
Yeah, that's the resistance of matter. See, matter sets up a resistance to the one, because if the resistance wasn't there, there would be no creation. You see. Okay, hang on. Okay, these last two, and then we'll go right back. Go ahead. Who's that? Okay, well, let's hold the comments for a minute. If it's questions, we want to get real quick. Yes?
No comments.
No comments, please. Go ahead.
Motherfuckers is kicking us out on our head.
Yeah, go ahead. Question.
We got that tomorrow night.
I just want to read something and make a question out of it.
Okay, quick. Very quick.
Comparatively speaking, evil reigns on earth will soon end. Consequently, the Black Brotherhood are using every vow under their control, all who can be influenced by them. Their aim is to wreak as much havoc and spread as much dissension as possible in the time left. They are the main instigators of evil manifested in the world today. War being one form of it. They must have food to sustain them. Either they starve or die. They survive and wax strong on energies generated by hate, treachery, greed, envy, cruelty, and every demonic deed in the calendar of crime. My question,
Sounds like God to me.
my question is that when we talk about in the time to come or time that's left, is there any specific signs or things that we can kind of put some kind of, not concrete ceiling, so to speak, but some kind of significance on, I know you mentioned yesterday about 2012.
Well, again, I know what you're saying there. But again, you got to find out, first of all, who the author is. That's one. Everything you read, you must read. Period. I don't care who wrote it. Two, everything about what it is the Black Brotherhood represents is just the antithesis of what it is God is in itself. Every emotion you had is part of what it is that God, even in your Bible it says, my God is a jealous God. So it tells you that everything that God is everything that this Black Brotherhood is. So if they are the ones that's trying to maintain that balance, then they're for the good. Quiet as it's kept metaphysically if you overstand, but their purpose is. You see, so don't take it as one or the other. It's a dynamic that's always in flux, always looking to balance itself. One more question and we're out of here. Go ahead.
You said that touch is sensation and
Yes.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Touches you, and the unconscious moves touch you what they like.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like,
Well, that's another center in the brain that is an amalgamation of the four. In other words, the four parts that sight, sound, smell, and taste become the foundation to perception. You see, on all levels. And it is through the center of the brain where those four elements have consolidated themselves that gives you the peripheral sensation or the peripheral perceptual node to be able to process information on your skin. I know it sounds weird, right? But what I wanted to say also is that we have products as well as those who do not wish to have their vaccination for children. Yes, very important. We don't want to have the vaccination for children. We also have Wounded Womb for those who want it. I'm taking orders now for that book, as well as the Demon Plagues. And with that, I just want to say thank you for having me up here to say what I have to say. I'm very, very happy and privileged to be accepted by my brothers and sisters here as one to be able to come here and do some therapeutic work on myself by venting all the bullshit that I have here. Bobby and I are very fortunate in the fact that we can talk shit to people, and this is therapeutic for us. You know, there's a lot of people that can't stand up before people and talk shit, you know what I'm saying? And actually have and be loved and feel that energy back and forth. And I really, really want to tell you that I'm very happy, and I don't want to use the word privileged, but I'm very honored to be able to have your attention in that way. So what we're going to do now is move forward and say that I was invited here. I met this brother many years ago on a tip from Hatshepsut, a sister out of New York, and they call her Sister Bert. And Sister Bert was doing a lot of our griot work, like taking camera work of the gathering of the masters and the things that we used to do. And sister told me that you got to get in touch with this brother named Bobby Hemmitt. He's on your tip. He's doing the same thing you're doing. The frequency is alive, and the brother's there holding it down. He's a soldier with it. And yeah, code breaker. So what happened is I got in touch with brother, and he came up to the gathering of the masters and turned it out. And ever since then, we have had an ongoing relationship, and the brother has been nothing but love, and he's been an inspiration to many people. He keeps me in stitches and always interested. I get bored as shit with the word road I'm on sometimes, and then when I call Bobby, Bobby just gets me back on to give me that light. You be saying that where do the healers go? Well, the healers go to the other healers, and we kind of talk and kick shit back and forth and try to get each other back on track. And this brother has been an inspiration to many. He's traveled the country. I love him dearly. I know you do. Let's give it all the way up for Brother Bobby Hemmitt.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
First of all, let's understand the relationship between scholars. There was one said that Dr. Van John Henry Clark, Leonard Jeffries, the fact that hell, I've been in his house, I get 5 metaphysical lectures, metaphysical masters from him. So, you know, he has this thing, you know, he has his view on the menstrual, I had my view on the menstrual. You know, and several things like that and all. But then again, I also know that in this cadre of scholars, is it on? Okay, hold on, wait, hold on. There you go, right there. In these cadre of scholars, have 2 different paradigms. And that's, is it still on? Testing. That's neither here nor there. Basically, you're just getting where you fit in, because the simple fact is we're not really necessarily talking in this particular crowd to babies. You know, this thing has been on for a while. We went through the whole Afrocentric movement, and this is 9 years for me, going on 9 years in June for me on the circuit. You see what I'm saying? And as you know, there's hundreds of videos and different things like that. So at this particular time, you're going to have to be your own master. This is not a religion where you're trying to doggone get the sheeple. It's not a movement. You see what I'm saying? You just choose what side, because it really doesn't matter. It's not a movement. You see what I'm saying? So in that case, it's not a contradiction in turn for us to differ on the whole creation thing or whatever type thing and all. You just, you know, that's in general, that's good, because you're going to have to make that decision. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to have to make that decision. Now, it's interesting because the 2 sisters last night happened to be confidants in the aspect, you know, that, believe it or not, that one, because some brother called her a dyke. All for the simple fact that all of a sudden, because a sister said she was a bit aggressive, wait a minute, so a sister can't be aggressive. All of a sudden, there's got to be something wrong with it. So that's patriarchal in a way, any damn way. You know what I'm saying? You know, because they would have the audacity to even speak out. You see what I'm saying? And also, both sisters are scholars, and this one here is a blue. Believe it or not, the sister, the one that was in the blue last night is a blueprint scholar. The other one in the peach right there is good friends with Richard King, and she is, even when I traveled to Detroit, taught me some things. You see what I'm saying? Taught me some things. But then again, on the other hand, that's the stew. That's what you need. You need that type of thing. This is not a religious movement where everybody has to agree on the same thing. We are a world-class people. You see what I'm saying? We're world-class people in the point right now, if you're given a certain form of scholarship, then it's going to ultimately be up to you to decide. So, in so many words, it's interesting, because my whole thing as far as coming forward by night is probably the dialectical opposite of what Phil talked about last night. But that's good. You know what I'm saying? That's good. I state my case, and, you know, based on my research, you know, we will deal with some of that as far as, and it's not a rebuttal or whatever. This is literally what I prepared, because the simple fact was coming forward by night. And the sister that you saw up here early that gave you the goddess thing actually paved the way. It was almost a collaboration. You see, a collaboration on this particular thing and all, because we came from some of the same schools in learning this particular stuff. And as she told you, you know, she is one of the sources of my whole goddess thing as far as me getting introduced into this particular part. And we sifting out the pages and stuff to Sister Kimberly Meadows. And also want to give her a black hand. They did this. To give you an example, we got Brother Yehoshua. He's one of the original tribes of Israel. He is, let's put it this way, the Hebrew. But we kick it on the Typhonian level. We kick it on all types of things and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's not even a matter of what school I'm coming from and different things like that and all, because we scholars. You see what I'm saying? And I had I'm actually proud to even have gotten to know the brother. Also, I'm glad that the brother is out speaking. You see what I'm saying? So so what I'm trying to say here is, it's not a matter of that. We're talking about a university of multiple levels of trying to understand this, and ultimately you're going to have to make the choice. You understand what's going on here? Now, to start things off, my rendition is some things that I'm going to get into tonight. Boy, I don't know where to start. I mean, I brought the damn kitchen sink up here. You know, that's because I was like, well, I ain't got time to sit. I was like the Thursday night, I said, well, I don't have time to sift through nothing, so I'll just bring all this shit, you know. So I took down well, I mean, this is just a corner of the library, but I just took down some things just to go with some stuff at this particular time. So, it's interesting because that movie, The Sixth Day, I think is one of the ultimate movies when it comes to the whole cloning process. You got to get that movie because we was trying to find out how could they clone in 2 hours. And like I said yesterday, but they have a whole, if you see the movie, they have a whole a body already made. It just don't have the skin, the outer skin, but the actual prototype is already made. And the only thing they have to do is just add the DNA to it. And the DNA gives you all the other stuff that they need, all the other stuff that you need. So it's an excellent movie, but how many people saw this Newsweek magazine? I mean, Time magazine. Human cloning is closer than you think. But yet they tell you in here how to clone. You know, tell you how to make a clone in Time magazine. And all they're doing is basically letting you in on the secret that they knew since 1945. You see what I'm saying? 1945, which means in actuality, they've been cloning since 1945. You see? So that's all they're doing is just saying now it's time for the people to understand this. And they got all of this particular stuff. But yet, then not only that too, they prime you for what they want you to understand, because in here they got pictures of people that they went around saying, yeah, I want my child back. I want, you know, I want my cousin back and all this kind of stuff, which makes it feasible. And the movie Sixth Day actually goes into all of that. And so that movie literally is a case study into this particular science. Now, it ain't on 1-point-something million. I thought that last year too. But based on the Newsweek magazine, November the 13th, 2000, they say it's 14 million. Mostly black and Latino. Well, first of all, other than the Mexicans you are seeing all over the country now, those are ones that was imported in, and that's not even a crime people at all. Those are workers. So the Latino community they're talking about is mainly out west. And in so many words, that means that you got a lower percentage. That means that mostly 14 million people that they say they have in jail is based on Newsweek, November the 13th, 2000. The most of that 14 million is black men. You see what I'm saying? It's black men. 14 million. That means in actuality, we didn't have 14 million when we came over. So what you're talking about is literally, they say it's called a prison generation. In actuality, it's a prison race. You see, an entire new species of a prisoner. You see, now one brother said that it was interesting because one brother, the brother from Houston, was saying that the sister was out there, went to the prison to visit or something, and they was burying people out back. Well, that was interesting because I know ever since 98 that we knew if you go into prison, you wouldn't return. So if they're burying people out back, that means that they are burying the host, and the clone is returning out in the society. You know, and I told the story about back in '98 where the guy said, you know, one day he was in his cell and they just came and got him one night and took him somewhere on one of them stretchers and all. And he said next morning he just woke up back in his cell. But you know, the clone suspected itself to be the clone. You see, that's all in the movie of Sixth Day, and also the movie Johnny 2.0. He didn't even know he was a clone till halfway the movie. Woke up the next day and was cloned, 25 years later? He woke up the next day and thought it was the next day, and he didn't even know it was 25 years later that he found out that he was cloned 25 years ago, or something like that. So the clone doesn't suspect it to be a clone. So the brother was saying, you know, they came and got me one night and took me out of my cell, and I don't know what they did with me. I just woke up the next morning. And I tell the story about how the sister Taffeta, and I forgot that the sister was going to sing, but we got tomorrow, so she can throw down tomorrow also. It's good singing on Sunday anyway. You know, we're used to that. And the sister Taffeta talked about how she had a friend, I think she was like early 30s at the time, and I think she was 30. But she was 30, but the guy who had gone into prison didn't know how old he was. He was like, they said, how old? He said 22. And he was 30. They said, how old? And he'd always give us some, 24. And he finally got up to 30 about a couple of years later. So didn't even know what time it was. So this stuff is stuff that actually goes on. That actually goes on. So, like I said, that internet piece I mentioned, the internet piece where white people are saying, and I want to enter this into evidence again, that it says the African Americans, for the most part, are heirs to the earth. You see, the African Americans, for most part, are heirs to the earth. Well, in actuality, we're talking about all Africans, and on the planet who are not what they would call counterfeit spirits. You see what I'm saying? A non-permanent being. So, because it's so messed up now, we don't know who's who. You know what I'm saying? It's really that messed up. It's really gotten that bad and stuff. That's why you try to find out, well, why niggas acting this way? We really, truly, in 2001, really don't know who is who. That's right. So it's not just some monolithic thing that it's us against them or whatever type thing like this and all. You best believe this white boy's feeling awful uncomfortable to give you his woman. You know what I'm saying? To give you his woman, so apparently they know that there ain't no difference between them and us. You see. And what I mean by that is they know that there's a great deal of us that's not us anymore. And this is something we have to deal with. Hey, get the book Joseph Cipolloni's book, Making Sense of the Madness. If you can get a hold of these coming out of Australia, Making Sense of the Madness, coming out of Australia. If not, you can go on his website. I still think he got a website. They spanked his ass pretty good, I believe. He was telling too much, and he was dropping too much energy, dropping too much information, and then white people was like, okay then, you don't know what time it is. You see what I'm saying? And it says there are two types of beings on earth. There are two completely different types of consciousness inhabiting a singular physical bodies. Similar physical bodies. Over 70% of the bodies have a demonic or counterfeit consciousness. So I don't want to say the word counterfeit consciousness because the word demonic or Damien has a whole nother meaning to it. Do you know that the true love is a Damien or a demon? And we explain what the Damien is. The word demon comes from the word Damien. The word Damien comes from the word Amen or Amen, which means hidden. So the Damien or the demon that you're thinking and all is a degraded form that you know of today, means something totally different in the ancient world, which means one's own genius. Do you know that love is a demon, in so many words, or a Damien? That's why it hits you and you're all screwed up. I mean, really, when you really think about it, we're going to go into this tonight and all. Has anybody ever been in love? I'm talking really in love. It's some real, okay, you hear two sides of it. There's two sides of it. You know the side that's all romance. You see, because that's what they teach in the Western culture. But there's a flip side that there's no difference in love and madness. You ever been in love and been mad at the same goddamn time? You ever had this shit happen before?
I mean, raise your hands. Some of the damn sisters can bear witness to this shit. Have you ever been in love, but it was a form of sense of insanity also too? And you haven't experienced true love. Because we're not talking about an infatuation where compatibility, or we complement each other. You see what I'm saying? That's a partnership. That's a partnership. I'm talking about something whereas you might not have nothing in common, but you bound together, and whenever you think, I ain't fucking with that motherfucker, fuck her, and then an hour later something eats through, and so hell yeah you are. And you making up excuses why you making a phone call and shit or standing outside in some damn rain. That's eros. Eros, divine, and it's a form of insanity. We're gonna tap into some of that tonight. I mean, y'all, I don't know, the brothers might not have experienced, but how many sisters have experienced this shit I'm talking about? A form of insanity. I mean, craziness. How many brothers have experienced this shit? I'm talking about some real shit where you crazy. That's the real true shit. You know, I'm talking about some stuff whereas you be all right one minute and you might smell a smell that remind you of the person and you go into fucking relapse. You might be in the middle of downtown and shit. You know what I'm saying? And catch some damn relapse shit. Go into remission on their ass. Fiending. You ever had? That's a daemon. That's an entity. There's a whole book written on that called Love and Will by Rollo May. Love and Will by Rollo May. That's an entity. That's a daemon. Do you know that Satan is love? Now see, I know you said, oh, this motherfucker done gone crazy now. We're not even talking about, we're not talking about no devil worship or no kind of shit like that. We're not talking about that. And I'm going ahead of myself right now. I think that's a bit strong. Satan is love. I really got to check myself on that and really break that shit down. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think I'm buying that right now, let alone you. No. But you people who have followed me, you understand what we're talking about here, and I'm going to explain what this thing is also too. Because if you study the origin of this thing, eros, and there's the mythology, eros and psyche, and you heard Sister Kimberly talking about the whole mythological thing. In so many words, what modern day terminology means is something totally different. Something totally different. And we'll get deep into this stuff. I'm going ahead of myself. But what I'm trying to say here is we're totally turned around from anything that remotely resembles, you see what I'm saying, what reality is. What reality is. Now, so let's see where we're going to start here. We're going to start to a certain level. I got so much stuff and all, I'm just, and also I ain't had no sleep in the last 2 nights and stuff. So I'm waiting for the narcotics to kick in. Yeah. Now, it's interesting here, hold on. No, I see that, I'm gonna get that later. Oh, shit. Now, look at this damn shit here. This book here is out of print. I think, what's the paperback going for? $32, and I just tore the damn cover off the paperback, and it's $32. And what's the hardback going for? This is the Goddess Segment by Robert Masters, $180. And I was up in New York last summer, and they had a hardback for $8, and I didn't get that shit. Sometimes you gotta get that kind of stuff. Let me show you what I'm talking about, because there's a book here we're gonna get into. This book here is a book where it's King Tut's tomb, where they literally go and they literally copied all the hieroglyphics off of King Tut's tomb, and put it in this book. It's all types of stuff, and I'm going to get into this stuff when I get into my thesis tonight. But the book, I paid $25 for the book in '96, but the book is worth $400. So sometimes you have to really move on things and stuff. There's another book called Valentine by Henry Corbin. Came out in 1990. Book came out in 1990, paperback. But now the book is worth $300. You see. So, but these white people understand what level that particular stuff is. Here's a Gert's Voodoo Shadow Walls, which is the comic book, and I talked about this before. And this is what the white kids are actually learning and dealing with in role-playing games. Gert Voodoo Shadow Walls. But yet in here, they're using the voodoo to fight against what they call the evilness of Palo Minombe. And Palo Minombe is these particular spirits that we have here on the ground here. Palo Minombe, and which is also called the Congo rights. That is because they got to train their people. They say, you know, we want you all to get into what you need to help you, but there's some stuff that is our true enemy, and we have to fight against, we have to fight against that type of thing also too. So it's interesting that particular book, which they give a bibliography, and a movie list. Movies to see based on Voodoo, Angel Heart, The Believers, Cast the Deadly Spell, The Crow, Ghost, Layer of the White Worm, Live and Let Die, Manitou, Nightbreed, Serpent in the Rainbow, Sleepwalkers, and Wolfen. Anybody ever saw Wolfen? And you got to go check that shit out and go and when they go into that Native American bar, and the Native Americans start dropping what the damn wolfing is, it's profound. You see what I'm saying? It's profound. I want to also say, in 1973, Bruce Lee died on June 30th, 1973. When it's supposedly I guess the Chinese mafia, the Chinese secret society took him out. But he had already made Fist of Fury, Chinese Connection. What's that? Oh, it's too loud. Oh, I see. Okay, I'll back off. He had already made Fist of Fury, Chinese Connection, and no. Fist of Fury, Chinese Connection, and he made Return of the Dragon, where he fought in the Colosseum of Rome, which wasn't even released until 1974. After Enter the Dragon, he had already made this and stuff, but the first American installment was Enter the Dragon. You see, that he did somewhere late 72 or early 73, and he died right after he died after right at Game of Death, because he died at Game of Death with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, because they couldn't finish it. But so the other one had to have been done late 72 or early 73, and he died on June 30th of 1973. The key here is, isn't it ironic that the first American movie, when they released the Enter the Dragon, they already knew that the first time they was going to put big bucks behind the karate movie, because at that particular time, it was a cult thing with the Fist of Fury and Chinese Connection, but it was Enter the Dragon when it made the martial art movie on world stage, where they put money behind it, Warner Brothers. But Warner Brothers put money behind it, but also they had a ritual that they had to kill Jim Kelly, the black man. Hell, John Saxon couldn't even fight in the movie and didn't know karate in real life. But they killed Jim Kelly, and it was a doggone lynching, because not only did they kill him, they hung him in chains and dropped him in acid. You see? And when I remember seeing this shit back in 73, and I was like, you know what? And I love the whole Bruce Lee thing, but I was saying to myself, this is some bullshit, even back then. Really got to me. It was interesting because not only was it a doggone ritual, they even put it on the damn movie poster. They put it on the movie poster. They put this, when he's hanging on in the chains and they drop them in acid.